I wouldn't claim to be an expert on all the different far-right groups. The main one is La Meute, which means the wolf pack, basically. They're an anti-immigrant, kind of Quebecois, nationalist, identitarian sort of group that's like led by ex-military guys, very sort of macho type thing. Very highly centralized hierarchical structure internally. They just had a split, actually. They expelled one of their main guys, just like that. It was interesting to watch happen. They don't identify with Nazism or fascism or stuff like that, but there are some parallels in some of their ideologies. Then there's other kind of more extreme, I'd say even openly fascist groups like Soldiers of Odin. There's like a military, I can't remember the name of it. It's actually an armed group in Quebec. You have them actually in other places in English Canada as well. Yeah, exactly. Atalants. But most of them are extremely tiny. Like we also shouldn't overblow it. Like even what happened in the States. Like these far-right groups mobilized for months and put tons of resources in just to get, how many people do they have in Charlottesville? 500, 1,000 maybe? That's puny, man. They pulled people from all over the damn country, even people from down from Canada, just to get that many people. And then what happened? The counter-demonstration was mostly spontaneous and actually much bigger. And then it happened all over the country where there's these massive rallies everywhere. So I think we also shouldn't overblow the threats. But it doesn't make it not a threat. It doesn't mean that there's not something that we should do about it, right? We need to mobilize against this. I think it's not acceptable for people to sit on the sidelines and be like, oh, it's not my thing, I'm not doing anything. But I mean, we do have to mobilize. We do have to counter these people, you know? And mobilize in a mass opposition, because if it's just tiny left groups versus tiny right groups, I mean, then you see how the media plays it off. Oh, look at how violent everyone is. It's like, and they try to play it as both sides. But if it's like, here's 50,000 people against 100 people, and they're telling them to go home, I mean, it's like a strong rejection that the population doesn't support this. We don't want you here, you know? It's interesting because one thing that we held events on the rise of far-right and the rise of fascism in late August, and we held a couple of events about that, and one of the main things we were putting forward is the need for a united front for all groups, you know, especially like trade unions that actually have a lot of resources and members and actually can mobilize hundreds of thousands of people for this cause. Because we believe ultimately what you're seeing happen is a lot of small battles between like Antifa, like sort of black bloc people and far-right groups. You've all seen it on the TV, people punching fascists, Nazis, whatever, punch a Nazi, you know, type thing, bash the fash, which, I mean, we're not pacifists. I mean, we believe these people, when push comes to shove, needs to be shut down even with violence if necessary, because that's ultimately what they want to visit upon others and other communities. However, I think the best possible way to shut them down is to mobilize on a mass basis. Like if you saw what happened in Boston, there was an alt-right demo. It was maybe 100 individuals, and they hid like cowards in a little gazebo when there was like 20, 30, 40,000 people that showed up en masse. And they didn't even really need to be violent against them because it wasn't necessary. They just ran away at the end of the day. We think there needs to be a mass showing of force of regular working class people, and we think that the entire left needs to get on board of mobilizing for something like that. So we're helping to mobilize for this demonstration on November 12th in Montreal. That's like a kind of massive, supposed to be a massive demo to try to have all groups to sign on to it, to mobilize to bring out as many people against hatred, against racism, against fascism. So I mean that's the way to go. And it also doesn't mean like we have to give up all of our ideas because we participate in that. No, I mean different groups, different tendencies can argue their point, you know, but what's the best way forward? We have at least a minimum agreement of we need to organize massively to shut these people down. It's not like if you have socialism, that you won't have any racism. I think it creates the basis to eventually do away with it. But I do think that different peoples can live together, different ethnic groups, different national groups, different people that speak different languages can live together in perfect harmony, even people with different religions. You've seen this in many different countries and many different periods in history. But I know what is totally true is when people's lives are getting worse, then it will tear these relations apart and people will start to blame one another. So yeah, at the end of the day, I do believe that you can't I don't think you can do away with racism, and therefore I don't think you can do away with the far right and fascism under capitalism. I think it's hardwired into it in times of crisis. And I believe that the only real way you can get away with it, get rid of it, is to under a socialist system, right, where we can actually use all of the massive amount of wealth and productive capacity into our society to produce for human need, and the possibilities are actually amazing. What could be possible, but is mostly not possible right now because the capitalists are sitting on massive piles of cash that they only want to invest for profit. They're not going to invest for, well-being of individuals, so anyway, I do think that it can be eliminated only under socialism, really, not under capitalism, definitely, yeah.